I gotta share another story. You guys want to hear the story about my first crush? All right, I'll tell the crush story. This happened in 6th grade. And keep in mind, 6th grade Carl is not the same as like present day Carl by any means. First of all, I was 6th grade me was very, very awkward, very, very nerdy. And of course, this is like the beginnings of puberty. So I'm starting to understand that boys and girls are attracted to each other and they don't have cooties. So obviously with that comes like pressure and nerves and stuff. So I didn't know how to properly interact with girls, except there was one girl who was just like my friend. Like she started out just like a friend. Oh my god, there's 3 flowers. Jesus Christ. Like I wouldn't even say like we wouldn't hang out outside of school. We would just kind of like hung out in the class that we had together. For the sake of the story, I'm gonna call her, and to not dox her, I'll call her, I don't know, Stephanie. So me and Stephanie were in the same class. It was like the end of the day class, like the last class of the day. And it was a lot of fun. I think I started to hang out and talk to her more like midway through the year. So we were pretty familiar with each other at that point, but we would always be sat next to each other because our names alphabetically were like together. So so we got a chance to just like chat a lot, and I was like, I'm talking with the girl and we enjoy talking with each other. That must mean that we like each other. This is 6th grade logic to me. This is not how it usually works, guys. This is not how girls work, or like romance works or whatever. But in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a crush on this girl. And I kind of like convinced myself that I had a crush on this girl, even though that might not even have been the case. But whatever. In my head, I'm like, I like this girl. And so obviously, when you like a girl, and you don't want people to know, the first thing you do is you let other people know. Primarily your close friends. So I did let my close friends know, because it's like, oh, like you talk about crushes in video games during lunch and stuff. So we were talking about the girls that we had a crush on, and obviously I put out Stephanie's name, and it turns out one of the people at the lunch table, let's call him Harold. So yeah, so it turns out one of the people who I ate lunch with, who was also my close friends, actually has some classes with this girl Stephanie, and he would tease me about this a lot. Like he would kind of like just throw her name at me and like kind of giggle like and he even tricked me one day, because like I found a note one day in my locker, and it was like, it literally just read, "I like you," from Stephanie. And I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my god, no way, she likes me back. And he was just like laughing, and he eventually was just like, I wrote that, you dummy. And I was like mildly heartbroken, but I was like, oh, you dumbass, haha, look at you, you're silly. And it's haha funny, right? That's a haha funny moment for me, at least in 6th grade. What was less haha funny was when during lunch and after lunch, my other friends at the table were telling me that like, oh yeah, Harold, he like talked to Stephanie, and like he told her that you like him, or that you like her. And I didn't believe them. I was like, no way, he wouldn't do that to me, right? He wouldn't say that. Turns out he did. And so she kind of like confronted me at the end of school that day, and was like, oh, Harold said that you like me, is that true? And I'm panicking because I don't know how to talk to girls. Or I don't know how to handle situations like that, because I've never been in anything like that before. Yeah, she confronts me, and she asked me, like, she was like, Harold told me that you like me, is that true? I kind of freeze up a bit, and I'm like, no. And then she just kind of like glares at me a bit, and she's like, you're a really bad liar. And then she just kind of like is like, she's kind of like, oh. And then doesn't really say much else. And then she just kind of like walks away. And then like to fast forward a bit, we didn't talk much after that, but on that day I like ran onto my bus. I stared out the bus window the whole ride home. I didn't talk to my friends at all. And like once the bus dropped us off at our stop, I just like ran home and I like ran into my room and I just like turned on my PS2. I played FF9 and I just kind of cried. I like cried for like hours. I didn't talk to like my sister or anybody. I locked the door. I was just like, first heartbreak ever. I mean, this was like a good learning experience, I guess, because it was like, I don't know. Eventually, I did unlock my door. I was still crying and stuff, but I did unlock my door, and and my dad walked in, and he actually, because he was asking what's wrong. I'm lucky enough to have that kind of relationship with my dad where I can kind of like voice when things are very wrong. I explained it to him that like, oh yeah, this girl found out that I liked her, but she doesn't like me back, and it feels really bad and stuff. He gave me, I don't remember a lot of what he said, but I do remember like the main advice that he gave me was like, he was like, I know you feel really bad, and I know you kind of want to like yell at her or yell at your friend, but you know that's not the best way to get back at them. And he was like, you want to know the best way to get back at Stephanie for hurting your feelings? And I was like, what? And he told me to just be a good person. So do well in school, be kind to others, you know, all that nice stuff. Be a good person, and like be happy, be successful, and all that stuff. And for some reason that's a tiny ass board. And for some reason that advice really stuck with me. Even like for like a lot of like my coming of age years, whenever things kind of didn't go my way, or like girls kind of rejected me, or people did hurt me in that way. Not even like intentionally, but it's just like, you know, when I do get hurt by people, I just that sentiment always just kind of like stuck in the back of my brain, where I was like, I need to be a good person coming out of that, of whatever hurt I'm feeling. And yeah, like I said, I didn't talk to Stephanie at all after that. One day randomly, like months later, she kind of just yells across the classroom and was like, hey, do you still like me? Or like, do you still have a crush on me? And then in my head, I'm like, what? Like, fuck you, dude. Like, don't talk to me. Like, I don't know if she did that to like stroke her own ego or something. Like, oh, somebody has a crush on me in class. At that point, definitely not anymore. Like, fuck you, Stephanie, and your loud ass voice. It was actually very good advice that my dad gave me. Wholesome advice? Yeah, it was very wholesome advice. It was very, very good advice. I think that was probably the best advice I could have heard at that point. Because I don't get upset that often, especially nowadays. I would say I probably got more upset more frequently when I was a kid. But whenever I was like mad or sad, I tended to feel very destructive. Like I just want to like wreck shit. Either like wreck like physical objects, like throw stuff, or like wreck people, you know, in the sense of like I wanted to like hurt their feelings. I'm not gonna claim perfection and say that like, oh yeah, and from that day on I never hurt anybody ever out of retaliation. Like, no, like I've definitely retaliated. Like I've definitely said stuff that I don't always mean. I like to think that I'm like a relatively witty person. Like I'm pretty good at thinking on my feet, and for the most part I use that for fun. You know, I use that for like comedy or like puzzle solving or stuff like that. But occasionally that does have like an edge to it, where it's like if someone says something to me, I'm pretty good at like snapping back at them, but in like a very dark and hurtful way, which isn't the best. Whenever stuff like that does happen, I do try to remember the advice that my dad gave me, and then just be a good person, yo. Just be a nice, wholesome, happy person. And I will say, years later, because this was in middle school, I was in 6th grade. Like, none of us were like, like, we're kids, we're babies even, you know. But like, fast forward to like a couple years later, in like junior high, high school, I have like a very close circle of friends who I still keep in touch with now. You know, I did well in school. I picked up some new hobbies. I'd like to think that 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade me became the kind of high schooler that middle school me wanted to become. And I'd like to think that now, adult me is the kind of grown up, quote unquote grown up, that high school me wanted to be. Not all there, but hopefully somewhere close. And then years from now, when I'm like middle-aged, maybe middle-aged me will be the kind of man that young adult me wants to be. I don't know. I like to think that growing up is just constantly cringing at your old self. Okay, like high school me thought that middle school me was cringe, and then college me thought that high school me was cringe, and then fresh graduate me thought that college me was cringe, and then now young adult me is thinking that everything before me was cringe, and I'm just eternally cringing. Dude, I don't even remember what kid me wanted to be when he grew up. Like, what did he want to be? I didn't have like career aspirations at all growing up. I did like video games. Maybe I wanted to be like a professional gamer or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm still playing video games now, so Pog. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to just do things for fun. I think that turning your hobby into a career isn't always the best. It could be efficient and it could be like rewarding still, but I don't think it's always for the best. Cause then like you do your hobbies because you enjoy them, and because it's like, I guess it serves as like an escape from real life, quote unquote. But when your hobbies become your real life, then it's like, what do you have left to escape to, you know? Then you just find something else, like drugs. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. Don't do drugs, please. Yeah, this story turned into a randomly wholesome moment.